You're going to love this boat. It's very fast. She's really lovely to look at. And I notice here off our bow we have a small fleet of floating vessels. They're racing right along. Hi there, this is Captain Q. Join us as we travel hither and yon to show you some great deals on some really interesting boats and maybe learn just a little bit with each one. I'm so happy today that we have an opportunity to drive up to Mount Desert Island, one of the prettiest spots you'll ever see. Randy! Hey, welcome buddy.
Hey Captain.
Boy, are we in a beautiful place today.
This is spectacular.
This is Southwest Harbor. We're sitting right now on a dock at the Henry Hinckley Yacht Yard. They are builders of some of the most fabulous fiberglass yachts in the world. We are going to look at a Stevens 47. This particular boat was built in 1989. She's in terrific condition. Originally they were designed to be charter boats down in the British Virgin Islands. And then after the original owner of the company built 138 of them, they sold the molds and everything to a yard in Taiwan who changed the name to a Hylas. So these are also known as a Hylas 47, and there's almost no difference except the price tag. And as far as I can see, about the only change in what they did was with the Hylas, there was a little higher gloss varnish below, and in the master cabin, as you'll see, there was a centerline double berth instead of two berths port and starboard. These boats were designed by Rod Stevens of Sparkman and Stevens fame. Really fun to have a center cockpit boat, all fiberglass, that's not just a dock warmer. This will get out and really sail. Now the last boat we looked at was a YAWL with two masts. And she had a centerboard, which meant that the keel was very short. She only drew 4 feet. This boat draws close to 6 feet of draft here, and it has an elongated keel, but it's cut off, and then the rudder is hung very close to the transom of the boat with a SKEG in front of it, which is a device to help prevent the rudder from stalling out when sailing to weather. She's really lovely to look at. This boat's particularly attractive in dark blue with white trim. Her decks are light gray, and the non-skid is in good condition. No teak here. Oh, the rub strake along the side here. We'll find that on a number of boats that cruise a lot and often end up in marinas is simply there to help protect the hull and protect the finish on the hull. If you notice, the boat has a long rail here along the edge of the boat with perforations in it. That allows us to attach different size shackles and block to adjust sails or to tie it off for bumpers if you need a good place to tie off a bumper. This boat has a nice center cleat here to tie the spring lines, which are these two lines here going aft and going forward. That keeps the boat from moving forward or aft. The bow line coming off the bow up here keeps the boat into the dock, and there's another similar line at the stern, and between those two the boat will stay right in position. And I notice here off our bow we have a small fleet of floating vessels that all have very short keels, but they're racing right along. You can actually see the rudder at the very end of the boat back here underwater. If you look closely, you see a dark color down in the green water there. And that far back gives the boat tremendous leverage for sailing and for being able to control the boat in almost any kind of weather predicament. Now on the very transom of the boat, the back of the boat, you'll see two large protuberances, which really are fairly ungainly, but they're considered davits. Davits are devices that will hoist a small boat, a dinghy, and an inflatable out of the water. But this does not work very well for the owner's existing inflatable. So here at Hinckley's yard, they're going to remove those davits. The boat will be a whole lot prettier. While we're up here too, you can see these solar panels. There's one on either side, port and starboard, that do a tremendous amount of collection for a boat this size, which doesn't draw that much power, but you can actually run the refrigeration system off of this, which is great. And that's the radar dome, and that will help them see up to 20 miles away anything coming at them or a landmass that they're heading toward. This boat has a dodger. This is essential no matter what you have on a boat to keep the crew dry. The awning over the cockpit is what I consider relatively new. In the old days, we used to just collect melanomas and didn't think anything about it. But today, with the skin damage that we've been doing to ourselves, these awnings become really helpful for keeping everybody happy and healthy. You'll see the mainsail. That's actually a big brown bag that goes the whole length of the boom, and it's called a Doyle stack pack. What's really nice about it is when you're finished for the day, rather than have to fool around with the mainsail and cover it with sail ties and try to get it all in one place, you literally head the boat into the wind, tighten up the main sheet so the main boom stays about center line, and then just drop the halyard, and the sail will fly down the mast, and just dump itself right into that bag. It's really quite clever and really quite handy. It incorporates certain lazy jacks in its system. If you see up there, there's 2 double sets of lazy jacks there, which come down and split off into 4s, and that's what actually keeps it in line when the sail comes down. The sail slides down right between those 4 lines and boom, right into the bag. Just underneath the mainsail, you'll see a long tube there, and that's called a boom vang. And that's adjustable with a 4-part tackle there, you see underneath it. And that will allow you to adjust the boom at the right angle to the mast. Often when sailing off the wind or away from the wind, the boom will try to lift up. And when the boom lifts up, the shape of the sail changes and it becomes less efficient. We find another pole, and that's the spinnaker pole, or reaching strut. The outboard end of the pole will be attached to the clew of the jib, which is the piece you see the sheet attached to, and then it's winged out to one side of the boat. And while you do that, you let the mainsail out to the other side of the boat, and you go wing and wing, heading downwind, catching as much wind as they can.
This boat is a very special one for me because it belongs to my daughter Hampton, a licensed Coast Guard captain, and to her husband, Mark, an internationally renowned rock and cliff climber with over 25 original ascents. He recently summited Mount Everest this past May with an unusual tale to tell in his forthcoming book. Be sure to look for it at your favorite store or on Amazon. Together, they researched a number of boats and read all they could to learn what would be appropriate for their future travel. The Stevens 47 caught their eye, and they traveled to the Chesapeake to close the deal. They will travel with their 4 children to faraway places with great anchorages and inviting cliffs for shoreside recreation.
We're here in a very large cockpit area, which is wonderful. It has a nice combing around it, and the winches are all handy to the captain.
What sheets would you run to that?
The staysail sheets, the staysail is a small sail you may have noticed up on the bow on a roller furling unit. It's a smaller sail, doesn't go to the top of the mast, it goes about halfway up, and can be used when it starts to really breeze on. Up here in sight of the helmsman are all the instruments. That's all very helpful, certainly during the daytime, but at night it's even more helpful because you can't see the wind or how it's coming at you on the boat. The line of sight, the vision is terrific actually, and just not for the instruments. Looking forward over this almost flush deck, it's not really flush, you have great visibility as you can see the boats out in front of us right now. Cockpit also has a nice little feature here, just a fold-up table. It can be set up like so that you could seat 4 people or 5 people and have really wonderful meals out here in the cockpit. Something you'll like when you're sitting down in Bora Bora or the Abacos. Well, it is a great room. There's a lot of space back there for sure. And there are 2 storage hatches that go back, allow you into the lazarette area of the boat. Well, welcome below deck. We're down here in a classic layout for center cockpit boat. I'm sitting in a very large L-shaped settee with tables, extensions that fold out and literally will feed everybody across the whole width of the boat. So you can get his whole crew of 6 around this for dinner time. On the other side, there's a settee berth here below, and the settee does pull out. I've used that when he first bought the boat. I spent a little time on the boat myself, cleaning it up and getting it organized. This is a lovely, lovely salon right here that we're in, and the finish on the wood is beautiful. As I said, the only difference between this and the Hylas that I can see is they seem to finish this in a satin finish, and the Hylas boats were done with a gloss finish. Coming forward, we come into what's normally called a V-berth cabin. In this case, there's storage lockers on either side. These are all nice things to consider it when you're looking for a boat, to have storage for those people living up in the forepeak of the boat. Everything snaps shut nicely. And this enormous forward Lexan hatch that will take a good sea dumping if they put the bow under. Forward of that is a chain locker where all the chain for the anchor empties into that bin. And below this there's more storage for additional storm anchor lines. Here's a little side cabin on the port side there's an upper and lower berth there. They're full-size berths. On the starboard side is the forward head. Now there's no head in here as such right now. There is a shower capability, but it's become a storage locker. one of the golden aspects of the boat is this galley, which is huge. It's probably, I don't know how long, 6, 7 feet long. There's a giant ice chest here and a freezer compartment, and they're both run off 12-volt electricity, so you'll always have fresh food. The thickness you can see on the hatches for these at about 3 inches. It's going to mean it's really well insulated. Right next to it is a 3-burner stove with a stainless steel splashback and oven that works very well. Above it, there's a small microwave oven, and this will run off an inverter on the boat or when you're hooked into shore power. A lot of storage in here. On the other side, we have access to a bilge pump right here. That's what this is for, an extra manual bilge pump. You should always have one below decks that you can operate in any kind of seaway. So there's the Ford Lehman, I think it is on this boat. I have to double check, but it's a nice shape. All right, now this is wonderful too. Small points, but there's 2 sinks, not just one. But look how deep they are. They're probably, I don't know, that deep, whatever that is, 8, 10 inches. Let's move aft into the owner's cabin, and you'll find a great spacious area here. There's a double on the port side and storage locker in between and a single on the starboard side. There are fans over all of these berths all throughout the boat. A nice big Lexan hatch above us. Lighting overhead. Wow, another closet here. One port and starboard for each member of the bunks. And there are a couple places to sit down and put on your boots and change your clothes. Then you come into the owner's, the after head, and there's a manual toilet here, manual head here, flush. Lots of storage lockers for your gear. So lots of storage everywhere, underneath, overhead, and so on. Underneath this little piece of carpet, you'll see a teak grate, and you shower and the water goes down through the teak grate, and it has its own sump pump, which will pull that water up and throw it overboard after you're finished. Very nice, very roomy. Coming into the nav station, we're back across from the galley, and the galley is just right here beside it, which gives you an extra place to put things. You can see all the instrumentation laid out here for the navigator. Very comfortable seating. The lights overhead have both white light and red light, which you use when you're sailing at night and you don't want to disturb your eyes by turning on bright white light, which will blind you for quite a while when you first go out outside. The red light less so. All in all, the boat is very beamy. She's 14 feet of beam, which is really enormous, and it gives us all that room to spread out. The boat is very sound, very well built, and it's been quite well taken care of given the age of the boat. This is a very fast boat. I've sailed out of Booth Bay about a month ago, and she just takes off like a shot. So that really makes sailing a lot of fun. The top end of a cruising boat in today's world without going overboard. It's been really great to be up here at Southwest Harbor today at the Hinckley Boat Yard and taking a look at a special boat, and a special boat to me because the owner happens to be my son-in-law. He's fallen in love with sailing. He went off and made a decision to find the Stevens 47, which is an ideal boat for him and for his 4 children. This is an example of what can happen if you take the time to go out and really take a look at older boats and see what value you can find. These are boats that are going to carry you around the world. Your life will depend on their quality build. The Stevens 47, my son-in-law found down in the Chesapeake Bay. Now she's up in Maine, and he's getting ready to take off for parts unknown. We found very little contrary on this boat. She was well maintained by her previous owner. She was walk aboard, go sailing. The instruments worked, the engine ran beautifully, the refrigeration, it was fantastic. It had all the amenities, everything you wanted. The boat is very fast. The yard owner said that he had raced the boat down for the bucket in an Antigua race week, and she won her class. So the boat's fast. And I would rate this boat just about as high as you possibly could. Other boats have hit the 17 and 18 mark. This is right in there in that same group. First of all, it gets the automatic 10 because I love the boat. It gets the extra 6 or 7 or 8 points because the owner is very happy with the price he paid for the boat. This boat was the low six-figure range. It made the boat irresistible, let's put it that way, irresistible. And I'd like to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to fill in the box down here where you can put your comments at the bottom here. Sounds desperate.